Yeah, good. Excellent. So, welcome to another episode of In the Deep with Dave. I'm delighted to have this episode going out to the listeners. This episode, we're going to talk about coaching, life coaching, business coaching, with one of the best coaches around in my eyes. A lot of experience with this guy who's coming on, and the importance of coaching. How can coaching help you in your life, your business, whatever you may be doing. So I'll let him introduce himself. So over to you.
Excellent. Well, David, thank you very much for having this opportunity to be in your podcast. My name is Roel Schaart. I'm a Dutch guy. I live in Germany, and I have been with a top performance coaching company in the United States for many years. And it's really rewarding to help people to get into a transition into where they are and where they are about to become.
Yeah, great.
And I've done it for many years. Live in the northern part of Germany, little family, daughter 18, and now on work on travel in Australia. So I'm very excited for that too.
Great. Great. So just going back to where it all began on your kind of coaching journey, what was your background in the beginning? What led to ultimately your path into becoming a coach, if you like?
So I worked for a big US company, General Electric, years ago, and I worked for the financial division. And that time, the Money Bank was sold to Santander Bank in Germany, and some leaders got an internal training to become a business coach to support the people in the transition into Santander Banca.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's really what I really enjoy doing because I already doing it. You know, the leadership approach that I was using was actually a coaching approach. And I really wanted to know more about this. So I got a coach myself and I thought, hey, you know, this is my new path. This is my new endeavor. I like to be a coach too and help people as a full-time position.
Yeah.
So that's actually the story becoming a coach internally and then got the training externally.
Excellent. So when you were going through that coaching, and I think, I suppose coaching and doing it yourself as well, it's very rewarding because you get to see somebody's journey from where they plan their dreams and their ambitions, their targets, and then hopefully, achieve them and where they get there. And I know some of the things you go through on your program is like, how do you feel when you're there? Like, imagine what you'll feel like when you reach your target. How will you feel? How will you stand? How will it look? And I think that's important, kind of the visualization thing of helping someone get through their targets. So you went through a form of coaching yourself, then
Yes.
decided this was for you and this is what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Then from there, how did you kind of start your journey as a coach? Because there's a lot of coaches in the world right now. There's some big, some small, some medium-sized coaches in terms of platforms and people out there. How did you launch yourself into your business to say, right, this is what I'm going to do? This is how did you
It's
do
a great question, and especially a great question for the coaches who are getting on board. It is a big ocean, and there's a big um, I think there's a high requirement for people who have specific coaching skills. You know, there's a high need in the marketplace. So when I become an internal coach and got trained as an external coach, I got a coach of one of the biggest coaching companies in the world. And I said, great, I want to be one of you guys. So
Yeah.
I got opportunity to get an internal training in the United States, and I became part of that
And who
that
was that?
coaching.
Who was the company?
It's Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins. I mean, did you follow Tony Robbins before you got into
Yeah,
that? And what was that like the moment you got accepted on the internship at Tony Robbins?
it was a well, you know, the biggest award in my life. You know, I worked quite
Yeah.
hard on this, and I still remember. You know, I had the previous coaching director said, "Oh, you need to do this and this and this." And then I said, okay, let's do it. You know, I became an ICF member. I became also a board member of the ICF in Germany.
Yeah.
And then I contacted him back. I said, great, you know, Mark is his name. Mark, I'm ready. And he said, no, you're not ready. And that process took me 2 years, and I was always afraid to pick up the phone. Mark, I did this, what you said. And he said, you're not ready. And I said, come on, But the most important thing, so this is, I think, one of the lessons that I like to bring in our podcast is have your goal, be patient, and be persistent.
Yeah, great.
In the moment that you really, really, really believe this is my path, and I really believe I belong to that group, I will be a coach of that group. I really strongly believe it. So I was really patient and persistent. Keep going, keep going, keep going. So to circle back to your question, hey, how does it feel? It was really, really quite rewarding. And I think the most important thing, the feeling is when I have a little breakthrough with a client, a big breakthrough, a win, it's also the win for myself. We coaches, we grow every time we see changes in our clients.
Yeah.
So it affects ourselves too.
And going back to that moment, about being patient, and I think that's probably a key takeaway, really, is everybody now sees the life that they want, or a job, or a career, or a path. But actually, they want it now, and they want it here, and they're not willing to see the journey. And I think that's the most important thing. And I've literally just been having a conversation this morning with one of my business partners in a brand and media business who's into podcasting, who's on that journey. And I just told him, I just said, be patient. You've got to be patient. You've got to go along. You've got to put the work in now, and then the bigger names will come along down the line.
Yeah,
And if you're patient and you kind of relax into it, that's when I think opportunities come. Where if you're tense and you want it and you're fighting every inch for it, sometimes them opportunities don't come unless you relax. And
absolutely correct.
interesting, a podcast I did last week with a BBC Strictly Come Dancing star. He said he was in the final 4 times. He'd been beat 4 times in the Strictly Come Dancing final on BBC. The fifth time when he won it, he relaxed. He didn't have any expectation on winning it. His shoulders were down. He was ready to give. He thought that the person next to him was going to win it. He completely relaxed, just prepared for the final. Not any expectation like he did the 4 times previously. And they read his name out, and him and Stacey won the final. And I think there's something in that when you let go of the ultimate desire, because sometimes I think that can consume people as well.
Yes. So two great lessons that you shared with us is, yeah, we always say, increase your appreciation, your path, the
Yeah,
steps that you take, um, and lower your expectation with other people if you're depending on them.
yeah,
The other thing that's important is you said it's the journey that's important. Absolutely spot on. The end goal is important to have a vision, a direction. The journey, it's important. And we see every first 2 weeks of January, people say, oh, I want to lose weight. I want to stop smoking. I want to stop drinking. And they do it 1 or 2 weeks and they stop. And I think that's so interesting. What is the reason? And I found out after all those years of coaching that in the moment people have a very strong why.
yeah.
What is the real reason? Not on the surface, oh, I want to lose some weight, but what is the real reason behind it? Then people can keep pushing themselves and be persistent and be patient.
Yeah.
If the why is strong, it will happen. If it's weak, they stop probably.
And going back to that, because obviously, we're in them months now. We're in them January, February months where it's cold and people are motivated. And then obviously a day like today when the snow comes and it hits everybody, and then you've got to get out and go to the gym. And I think, how do people, can you develop that why? Can you put a bigger focus? How do you keep focused on the why, or how do you keep your clients focused on the why too? So in March and April, they don't drop off losing weight, or they don't drop off
Yeah.
stopping smoking or stopping drinking or whatever it is. How do you kind of refocus them on that?
So two things here is the why has actually 3 levels. So what I do with my clients, I ask them, hey, how would that feel? What's the emotion that you will experience when you have lost that weight, or when you stop smoking, or when you got the 1 million on your account? What is the feeling, emotion that you feel? And then we go from the rational part into the hard part. The second part is, who are you to become? You know,
Yeah.
what is your new identity? What is the role that you play in the moment that you have achieved your goal? And the third layer is, if this is not for you, who will benefit from it? You know, if it's something that only for you is important, also can you support other people? So those three levels are quite important. And in the moment people have those three levels, a strong purpose, most likely it will happen. The second part is, and this is actually what I learned from the Navy SEALs. I did a couple of training in the United States. It's, let's say, a hell week for private people, and I wanted to push and push and push, and I got 13 hours twice of the 52s. I'm very happy.
Excellent.
The lesson that I learned is, when they go on a mission, you know, they have a clear outcome. So that's step number one. Know specifically what you want to have, you know, in a smart format. Make it specific. Is there a way you can measure it? Can you put actions on it? Check in if it's realistic
Yeah.
and in a certain time. So that's the first part. Know your outcome.
Yeah.
Some people don't know the outcome and they go, but they don't know the outcome. The second part is, we come back to the why. So the why comes back here, those three levels: your emotions, your identity, and if it's for someone else.
Yeah.
The third part is, chunk it down in little pieces. When people say, oh, I want to run a marathon, and they start, if they have never run before, they start with 20K and they burn themselves, and it never works.
Yeah. So,
Start with 5K, you know, slow pace, and then speed up. So that's the third part. Chunk it in little pieces. Number four is, ask for help.
yeah.
You know, people are always willing to support other people. So ask for help. Hey, David, can you support me with this? You know, I have a difficulty. Help me with this.
And I think that's just on that point. Everybody now is accessible.
Yeah,
No matter what level, what platform you are in life, whether you want to access a GB athlete who's gold medalist, you can message them on Instagram and ask them for a tip. You can watch them on YouTube.
yeah,
You can watch videos. You can watch lives. There's so much information now, and asking for help and sometimes going straight to source to just get that advice
yeah,
is probably the best advice you can give, really. And
yeah,
asking for that help on, if you're going to run a marathon, you would then go and ask people who've previously ran a marathon, how did you do it? Oh, well, I started off on 5K, I built up, started running 7 miles, 8 miles. And funny enough, everyone I've spoke to who's ever ran a marathon never ever ran the full marathon in training.
never, no, never, no.
So because they always say, and same as the Great North Run, when me wife a couple of years ago was training for the Great North Run, which is a half marathon, never ran the full half because they always say the crowd and everything inspires you on the last 3 miles.
Yeah,
So, if you can get to 10, you can get to 13, or if you can get to 20, you can get to 26, because
there you go. Yes.
everyone will give you that push over the line. So these sort of things that when you start talking and asking for help, these are
Yeah.
the advice that you get given, really.
So the last part, so number five, that was part number four. The thing number five is, support other people. I did twice a marathon in Berlin, and you're absolutely right. You know, I didn't train for the full marathon. I did a couple of sessions of 20K, you know, 26K run, 26K run, and then the crowd will support you. My body said, oh, you know, I'm so tired, I feel my knee and I need to stop. And actually I wanted say the same thing to him. Oh, I'm so tired, I want to stop. And
Yeah,
in that moment I thought, oh, if I say it, we will stop and feel sorry for the rest of our life, rather than go through this pain point, push ourselves through, and celebrate at the end.
yeah,
So number five is, help other people. In the moment you help other people, you can't be busy with your own stories.
Yeah, you're right. It's, I suppose you're focusing on trying to help them rather than the pain in your legs and the pain that you're going through.
Exactly. And I said, hey, you can do it. You know, we're almost there. Another K, another K. And I was so busy helping and pushing him that we made a good time at the end.
Yeah, yeah. There's an interesting video I watched years ago on YouTube about a guy with American football with somebody on his back, and I think he was blindfolded, and he had to go the full length of the pitch with the guy on his back. And what he kept saying
Wow.
was another 100 yards, another 100 yards. We're there. He thought he couldn't get past halfway. In the end of the video, because he kept saying another 100 yards, another 100. He ended up getting into the end zone with the guy on his back because he never thought he could do it, but because he
I've
did.
seen a video. Yes. Yeah. I've seen the video. And then he took off his blindfold to, my gosh, that
Yeah, yeah,
this,
he's in
yeah,
the
yeah.
end zone, and that's the power of the mind. Where if you don't know, if you're focusing on the negative, and no one's pushing you towards a positive, it's quite easy to give up. It's quite easy to go, right, oh, I've got 10 seconds left. I'm going to give up in the last 10 seconds. You know, when you're in a workout, when you're in a fitness
Yeah.
hit session or something like that, where if someone says, oh, you've got 20 seconds left, you'll do 10 seconds and the bell might go and you think, oh, I thought I had 20 seconds. Because it's the power of the mind.
It's
That's what.
very, very strong. So I have a rowing device at home and I'm rowing and I want to hit the below the 7 minutes, 2000 meters. It's quite fast. I know people do way faster. That's my game.
Yeah.
And I'm preparing myself, sitting, you know, and I do the first 500 meters. It goes great. And then sometimes there's this little voice saying, "Oh, today is not your day."
Yeah.
And in that split second, it's over. You can't go, you know, and you don't have a good time. So we program ourselves all the time. Now, if we know it, then better program ourselves in a good way, right?
Yeah. And how do we do that for the listeners there who, and we've probably all had that voice in our head where they're going, today is not the day. You wake up in the morning and go, oh, it's too cold to go out on the bike, or it's too cold to get ready and go for a swim or for a run or to the gym. How do you reprogram your mind
Yeah,
in that winning mentality?
it's a great question. So when people want to lose weight, when people want to set a goal, most likely they want a strategy. But the strategy is actually the small part. You know, if you say, I like to lose weight, Google it and you have 50 million documents.
Yeah,
But
you do.
still people don't do it because we need to work on the psychology, the belief. So when we say, great, I can do it, it's easy, it will be okay, people are better with me than without me, I can hit the 5K. Ask yourself all those questions all the time, you know, I can do it, or the statements, because we program ourselves. If you say the example with the rowing, I can't do it, then boom, in that moment you can't do it and it will never work.
Yeah,
So by saying statements, your feeling is 80% of your belief.
yeah,
So rather say, you know, I can do it. I've done this before. It will be easy. I can do the first step. The first step is easy. I have support from someone else. And I keep going. And I know in 3 months it will be done.
yeah. Yeah, and I suppose reaffirming yourself with positive messages rather than the negative messages helps
Yes.
you get over and get by on that journey, if you like, I suppose.
It's at the end when we, let's say, program ourselves in a negative way, you know, I can't do it and it's them, it's his fault. Um, it has a straight effect on the physiology. That's the interesting part. So they did brain scans of people who are seeing always the other side of the coin, right? So something's happening for you, not to you. But if you say, hey, you know, this is happening for me, and they see the other side, what's great about this? Oh, I missed a flight. What's great about it?
Yeah,
Oh, I missed a flight actually 2 weeks ago when there was a stormy weather, perhaps also in the UK. Um, and I said, okay, what's great about this? Well, I'm happy that my feet are on the ground and not that I'm in the air, right? Because
yeah,
it's quite bumpy road.
yeah.
So find a way when people are masters in the reframe, see the other side of the coin. What could be great about this? Just this question.
And
And
that
then,
it's so important that as well. And I suppose it's very difficult because not everybody has that program mindset. And we were at a business event a couple of weeks ago, one of the business partners in another business, and he wasn't really getting much from the event. And I just said to him, look, I says, I can see you're bored. I can see you want to go. However, you've come here, you've made the journey and the travel to get here. Take one thing away from this event. You might not like this speaker or the next speaker or the speaker after that, but you've got to come here and you've got to take something away, because you'll be in a negative mindset if you don't. And anyway, we walked out of the event and we met somebody who he knew, and we've been trying to set some business up with. And we bumped into this person, got chatting. You know, I met this person for the first time who he'd been telling me of. We got chatting. We've had previous meetings since, and I just thought that's what we were there for. We weren't there for the event, or we weren't there but we met this person, and I said, there you go. You've taken something away, and I think that is a mindset thing of where everywhere you go, take something away. If you miss the flight, what's the positive of missing the flight? Have you met someone? Have you got some extra work done that you need to catch up in the airport? There's always something if you take the positive away. And I think
yes. And for your listeners, so what I learned from Tony Robbins is, see the things as they are. You know, concentrate you on the facts. And what happens? People put a lot of emotion. I missed my flight. Oh, and then all the stories come, right? Stay with the facts. Okay, I missed my flight, and I need to stay one day over in Zurich. These are the facts.
Yeah.
And then find a way. What's the other side of the coin? See it better as it is. Well, I'm happy that I'm sound and safe, and I can do my work, coaching from the hotel, and I have a way to connect to other people. So see it better as it is. And then take inspired action. That's the third layer.
Yeah.
Be active and to make it better as it is. It's not rocket science. It's really that people are more aware of these little things will have a huge impact.
And I think that's key, though. People do let the emotion side take over. They get caught up in the emotions. They get, angry, sad. They can't plan the facts because the emotions taken over. So, it's like anything. Literally on the way in this morning, the snow was so bad in my little village, it took me an hour to travel about 1 mile. And there was a guy, I turned right to try and take a cut through another village, and the bus driver said, look, it's the police are turning people back, it's blocked. So I had to turn around, and then this other guy tried to follow me, and I said, oh, it's blocked. He says, oh, I need to get to Durham to a passport interview in 30 minutes. I says, I don't think you're going to do it. I says, try this way. He says, if I don't get there, I'll not go on holiday. I'll not be able to go on holiday. So already his emotions have taken over.
Yes.
He's not looking at the facts. He's not planning, right, okay, what can I do here? He may even give up. I don't know where this guy went. He might have given up and went home and, might never go on holiday. I don't know. I didn't, obviously, I don't know the guy from there. But you're right. His emotions in that moment has taken everything away from him. And he's upset, he's angry, he's frustrated, and he's not going to really be productive today because of that, is he?
And so what happens is, and it fits, most people ask themselves a poor question, and then it leads to a poor decision, and they take actions on that poor decision, and they see a poor result.
Yeah.
So the guy could have asked, okay, what are other alternatives to get my passport? That's a great question. It leads to a decision. Great, I need to find a way. Yeah. And they will take actions to make it happen, and you see a result.
Yeah.
So for your audience, ask yourself, what's the question you ask yourself? The why question. Why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Not a great question. It will not help you.
And I suppose a big thing is I never have any luck. That's what people always say, isn't it? People always say, oh, I never have luck. I never win anything. I never do anything. I'm not lucky. And I suppose because they're saying that, they will never either be lucky or feel lucky. And people always say, people with money or people in business, they get all the luck. Money goes to money and things like that. These are some sayings, but it's not actually. It's because these people program themselves in a different mindset. So rather than saying they've got no luck, they see opportunity, or they get given opportunity, or they're looking for opportunity. And I think that's so important on a mindset of always feel like you're lucky, always be grateful, have gratitude for what you've got and where you are. And And that's when I think other opportunities come as well.
It's great. And then I hear people say, oh, but what about, I lost a child, that's the one most horrible thing that can happen to parents, or I have cancer, and I said, yes, it's something that you can't influence and you can't control. If for whatever reason, a child has a car accident and it died, we can't change that fact. It happens, and questions like why me will not help you.
No.
And the better way is, hey, what can I still do? A lot of people, a lot of my clients who have actually went through that experience, and which is horrible, right? Losing a child is one of the most horrible thing that can happen. They say, I can't change it. It happened. And they help other people for the same.
Yeah.
So they have purpose again in life.
Yeah.
And they remember their child. And I learned a big lesson of one of the previous coaching. He lost his baby girl, and this is so powerful for me. He said, I have everyday pain.
Yeah.
And I choose not to suffer anymore. And I think that's an important lesson. When we experience pain,
Yeah.
it's a choice that we suffer from it. And he said, I choose not to suffer from it. And he's doing speaking engagement, helping other parents, give his life purpose, and he knows my little baby angel still on my shoulders and looks every day.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important.
Yes. And that's everything happens for us and not to us, isn't it? That's the
Yes.
back to that saying, and that saying is, I think, so powerful. If you can have that mindset of, well, it's happened for me and not to me, and I'm using this now as a platform to help others and inspire others or support other people who maybe aren't dealing with it as like I can. And I suppose he's got a powerful mindset of where he can deal with that and take that emotion and how he's dealt with that and help others. So
Yeah.
a massive achievement for him, really, to be able to do that. So in terms of going to the coaching, why do you think it's important that people have a coach? And this is any coach, it could be PT, could be business coach, life coach, anything. What do you think the power is of coaching?
I think there are multiple powers in the coaching. First, it's always a safe space. I have a lot of clients, they are top executives in big companies, and they don't have a space where they can share ideas or talk about their fears. Coaching is a safe space.
Yeah.
Second big benefit of coaching is we are, let's say, used as a reflecting, brainstorming, accountability partner.
Yeah.
So what happens is, I set this goal and I discussed it with my coach, and I went through certain fear elements. Now I can move myself, to the next level. And the next time we speak, the accountability part is, hey, how's it going? You wanted to do ABC. What happened? And then they have really to say, oh, I didn't do because. And I said, oh, and then we drill into it. So accountability, safe space, setting goals, working on some fears and beliefs that people have. And, it's a mirror. I think the most important part of my role is I'm a big mirror. And when people say certain things, I repeat it back. And then people say, oh, yeah, that sounds really strange.
Yeah.
One example. One of my clients, he said, "Oh, I don't really trust my sales guy. He's not making the numbers. He makes a lot of mistakes." And he said, "Okay, what is your outcome?" I said, "What do you like?" Well, twofold. He said, "I like to have a different feeling around my sales guy, and I like him to be on the next level." I said, great. And he said, I want to control. I said, if you want to make him the sales guy, then you need to give him full,
Autonomy.
yes, and not checking in. And I mirrored that back to him. I said, oh yeah, that sounds a bit strange, right? I want this, but I have, let's say, other things that stops me. So the coaching is also the mirror. And I have also a coach and a mentor and a personal trainer, because the knowledge that a coach has, or the questions that he asks, it's not the knowledge, but the question will open my frame of mind, my window.
And I suppose that's important, because people think, well, what does this coach know about my industry, or what does this coach know about what I do? And I think that's the powerful statement there. The questions you ask makes the person being coached think about what they do. So you don't necessarily need to know anything about podcasting or my industry or anything, but you're able to ask me questions where it challenges me. It makes me think where I maybe haven't given enough thought, asking me why, and challenge me on the why, to say, well, actually, why am I doing this? Or why have I thought about this? So it's so important on the questions you ask to be able to help people.
Yes. And I think it's also important for the coaches, and especially the coaches who starts in the coaching business, that you dare to ask questions.
Yeah.
For example, with my client, hey, you say this, but you do this. How does it work together? That seems to me conflict in what you do.
Yeah.
Or when people start, oh, this is his fault and he's not working. And he said, well, no, forget him. You're responsible because you hired a guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And then people say, oh, wow, that's quite of a direct approach.
Yeah.
Some people really enjoy that in the coaching part.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It is good. So in terms of the important to have the coach, and how important, and how does somebody out there who hasn't got a coach, how do they pick the right coach for them?
It's a great question. I think it's a very important question. And I think a couple of things. So also here, values and beliefs and strategy. So one of the strategies, I am a strong believer in the International Coach Federation. I've been board members for many years, and they have a strong set of ethic guidelines and coaching guidelines. That means people went through that certification level. They have not only the background, the knowledge, but also the hours, and that makes that coach certified in a specific level. It's not a necessity. The other thing is, what are the values of the coach? What is the type of person? Because it's a lot of chemistry. Do you trust? Because you share as a client a lot of things with your coach. You need to trust him. I think trust and confidentiality is so important. I always say to my clients, do I have your permission that I coach you? And everything that you and I will say and discuss remains between you and I. Very, very, very important. Your coach does not need to be your best friend. In the contrary, I think value sharing, be on the same line, but you don't need to be a friend with your coach. And that's not negative, because sometimes the coach needs to get straight to the point and observe and give back to the client. So
Yeah.
the coach may not have the feeling, oh, I can't say it because it's too direct.
Yeah.
Maybe that's exactly what the clients need, not what they want, but what they need.
And I think that's the important thing, isn't it? It's been sometimes, I suppose, the people, and the reason why people have a coach is so they get challenged, they get the challenge they need. And I suppose if we become best friends, you then don't always want to upset your best friend, so you don't always challenge in the way that they originally intended, I suppose. So I think that's probably important. One there of not being coached by a friend, or not becoming best friends with your coach.
Yeah.
I suppose it does happen, and I suppose some of the top coaches will still be able to give that advice. But I think that is an important part.
Yeah. So that's important. Look, yes, background. What type of clients, did the coach support so far? For every client, there's a dedicated coach. We say in Tony, we can coach everyone, everywhere, every time, because we have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge and tools, but I think there must be a click chemistry setting.
Yeah. And on the kind of the Tony Robbins internship and becoming a Tony Robbins coach, how influential has Tony been on your life and on your coaching and on what you do?
Oh, big time. If I see myself now and I look back when I started this whole journey as learning the skill sets, experience, doing the things that he is, doing, I am a completely different person.
Yeah.
One little thing, my comfort zone when I was a student was, let's say, one dime. If I look at now, it's, let's say, 50 kilometers. I make this up.
Yeah.
So the way I push myself out my comfort zone to be focusing on helping other people's, to work on my own health and energy and nutrition, to set goals. So all the things that we teach and go with our clients, I do myself too.
Yeah.
It would be silly if you would see here me with 50k overweight. So I do everything that he's, yeah, saying that works. So yeah, I'm a completely different person now and when I started the whole journey.
And how long has that journey been? So how long have you been part of the Tony Robbins coaching?
I have my hours. I think I've more than 6,000 coaching hours. So that's quite a lot already.
A lot.
Really long time.
And in terms of the training that you've gone through, can you just give us a snippet and insight of the training that you do? Where have you been in the world? What have you done? What have you had to do?
As a Tony Robbins coach training or in general coaching
Tony
training?
Robbins coach training.
Yeah. So the coaching training for Tony Robbins is not let's say, an event that you can book.
Yeah.
People get nominated. So we have roughly 140 coaches worldwide. We have, our clients are worldwide, and I have quite a few coach clients, and they say, great, I want to support the mission. I want to be like you. I want to be a Tony Robbins coach. So
Yeah.
we nominate people where we think, hey, we go in 3 levels: can do, will do, team fit. Has the person the knowledge and the experience?
Yeah.
We also want to see coach experiences, or people have certain language skill sets or business skill set, or and so on. So that's the can do. Will do, that means, hey, is this person to go the extra mile? We are high peak performance results coaching department, not only to our clients but also for ourselves. So is the person motivated to be in this part?
Yeah.
And team fit, we want to see that people are supporting others, actually sharing the same values.
Yes.
So the program is 3 months. People get nominated, then they get interviews, and after they go into the first phase. It's a online training, couple of sessions per week, lots of homework, interaction with other clients, coaches. After they have been going through phase 1, they go to phase 2, which is training on site. And then when they have done that, they go to phase 3. It's another on-site training. I don't want to go too much details because we don't want to spoil the party and explain how much works. It's very intense. It's very rewarding, and my experience, it's the best training on the planet.
Is it?
Yeah.
Great. Excellent.
So we see when people may not be hired, they get the best of the best of the best training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even if you don't eventually make it through the training, you've still had the training, which is,
we say to people, every phase you go through, even if it's only phase 1, you get so much knowledge, experience, and things that will change the rest for your life. It's really, an amazing thing.
Do you ever do some of the big events that Tony does and the Unleash the Power and things like that? Do you ever?
We go through the events, sometimes as a participant, sometimes as a trainer and helping the coaching booth, sometimes in different roles. Yes, we go to the events and support the mission, as we say.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Great. And have you had any sessions with Tony? Do you ever get any sessions with Tony? Do you?
Tony is a very busy guy, and once in a while he jumps in or is in a conference call with us,
Yeah.
which is very rewarding, and I'm very happy.
How would you describe Tony's energy when he's in that call or when he's in that group with you?
There's no difference. Tony is who he is. When you see him on stage, he's in the room, he's in meetings. That's who he is. There's no different Tony.
Yeah, just always on it.
He's always on it. That's the reason he's so successful, right?
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of going back to the coaching side, and how many people come through your program at the start or approach you who don't set goals? What's the importance of setting the goals?
Well, the coaching is not only about setting goals, right? So it could be, well, at the end, maybe it is. Some people say, oh, I have a fear of speaking in public, or um, I like to hire. Well, at the end, it comes to goals, right? If I'm now speaking out loud,
Yeah,
it is important to set goals because if you don't grow, you die at the end. It's if there's always growth,
yeah,
and sometimes a little growth is enough. But people, they want to set goals and they want to grow at the end.
yeah. So it's important. And do you find that still people come to you at the start with no goals? Do you help them set their goals? Do you help them work through?
Yes, some people, they they come into coaching because they know something need to be changed,
Yeah,
but they do not exactly know what it is. And with our coaching experience and the questions we ask, we help these people to say, great, would it be helpful if there are little tools to say, how do you do in your relationship? How are you doing in your physical health?
yeah,
How are you doing in your financial? So we want a kind of a snapshot where they are. And I said, where would you like to go? Are you still happy where you are? Or do you like to go to the next level? And so sometimes we go from the back end and say, oh, actually, I'm not so happy in my relationship, or maybe my financials are not on the level that I like to see it.
and I suppose it's so important, and this is something I work on at the moment. Is it's so important to have that goal, not just in business or finance, but actually a goal for yourself,
Yeah,
a goal for your family, in your relationship, and you've got to focus on all aspects, because I think a lot of people in business owners, CEOs, MDs, execs, will have the so much focus on the business and forget about their home life, their children, their self, their training, their own aspirations of why they're doing what they're doing. And I suppose people just, and me, I went through this for a number of years and probably suffered mentally for it, that I was so focused on the business and nothing else. Where now I need to focus on my family, myself, things I enjoy, whether it's going to football, go swimming, go
yeah.
whatever, I don't think people do that, do they?
So I see this, let's imagine you have a table, with 4 legs. So it's a strong, stable table.
Yeah,
And as a metaphor, these are, let's say, 4 main areas of your life. And one of the table get a bit, floppy or maybe break off.
yeah,
Okay, it hurts, but the table is still there. If you have only one leg on your table, and that is, let's say work, and it breaks down for whatever reason, the economy goes south, then your life jumps down.
yeah,
So we say, like a wheel, there are many other areas. It's health, it's your emotions. Are you managing and mastering your own emotions? Um, Family. So there are, let's say, a couple of elements that we like to go through with our clients and see where they are.
yeah. And that is important, that, and I think that's probably a key takeaway for anyone watching, anyone listening, that if they're all only focused on one thing at the moment, they need to look at everything else in their life and look at other things that make them happy. And I think, going back to something you said earlier on in the journey, you need to take enjoyment from the journey,
Yeah.
because many and many a times, and there'll be many more stories in the future. People set themselves a goal, a target, grow their business, sell their business, and they sell out and they sell the business for £10 million. They get the goal. They're sitting there with the £10 million and then realise, no, actually, it's not what I thought this would be.
So you can only drink so many cocktails, right? Or buy so many cars.
So many holidays, and so I think it's important to enjoy the journey and find out the why and why you're doing the journey, and maybe set goals where there's never an end point, where you just keep enjoying, you keep moving the post, and you keep ultimately, I suppose, growing, really, isn't it?
So for your audience, goal important, do the little steps and celebrate the little wins, and also the things that may not going in the direction. There's always something to celebrate. I did it. What I've seen so many times, people go, 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 go. They never celebrate, and then they have 12 million on the bank account. Is this life? And they have neglected family, health,
and that's
friends.
important. That's important. And I suppose the celebrating of the wins again is probably something that I didn't do very well, and hadn't done very well over the years in business, where something we said at the start of this, where before we started recording the podcast, is you asked me what's been the celebrations over the last couple of weeks, and it was a case of going through them, and it wasn't just business. It might be, and I suppose even some advice, it might be for people who are working. A celebration that week might have been getting to the children's football on after school, picking the kids from school, taking the kids to school, all things that people take for granted. But actually, if you're working and you're out in the office early and staying back late, you might not pick your kids up from school. So if you're able to finish early on a Friday and pick your son and daughter up from school, that might be a celebration of a little win that week. But it's about focusing the mind on them little wins and on them little things. And people focus on the big things, right? Okay, I've made £12 million, I've sold my business, or I've bought a new car, I've booked a big holiday. Where actually there's a lot of little wins if you just break down your life into that. And I think that's important.
Celebrating the snow. You can play with the snow, for example, in your town.
That's right. I should have just got the sledge out this morning and just been sledging down the hills. But you might, they're the little things. And I suppose, finishing work early today, taking the kids out on the sledges and things like that, they're little things that you can do and you can celebrate.
Well, there's a reason that people may not celebrate. When you're a kid and you see snow, you play. When you see, funny things, you do funny things. Kids, they do funny things.
Yeah.
And it is interesting that, when we grow up, we think there are certain rules and guidelines we need to adjust. Don't be silly because you're an adult.
Yeah.
Well, who's saying this? Why not have fun and laugh and do funny things? Very important.
I heard something on this morning on an old podcast that I was listening to of somebody this morning, and the person being interviewed said something that they had wrote on their wall for their children. If you can be anything, don't be ordinary. And I think that's important, that because adults become very ordinary. Kids be fun, be childish. They have fun. They take the mick. They have a laugh. When you're an adult, you have to think, well, I have to do this. I have to behave like this. I have to, get to work. I have to do, and I can't be all the things where you could probably learn a lot from children where they don't have any of that drilled into them yet, of the normality, and they're expressed themselves on how they want to express themselves. Where I think as an adult, sometimes we express ourselves how we think we need to.
Yes, you're spot on. As a child, they have not all those filters we have.
Yeah.
So they see things as they really are. With any filter, we grow up and we created all those filters. Rules, and so we have a big pile of filters, and it's not sometimes reality.
Yeah.
So sometimes important, to clean your filters.
Yeah, it is important, and I suppose look at them filters and maybe look at the fun your children are having and just join in once in a while, isn't it? Well, thanks for that. Thanks for today. Thanks for the podcast. Thanks for agreeing to come on. I think it's been a good insight into coaching. If anybody wanted to find you or wanted to reach out, wanted to help, wanted some coaching, wanted some advice, where would they find you?
They find me on Facebook and Instagram, Roel Schaart. I'm also, I think, in my bio in the Tony Robbins world. Roel Schaart. There's a search engine, so they find me. And of course, if they pass questions, you can help. Giving those questions back to me. So I'm happy to support you there.
Great. Well, I'll put all of your links in the description when it goes
Awesome.
out on the podcast,
Yep.
so if anyone wants to hit up. And, I think a fantastic guy. You're very good at what you do. Give some great advice on coaching. And if anyone out there listening is thinking, do I need a coach? Do I need help on setting some goals? Then, you're a great person there to give some advice.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And time is flying. We were really in flow, so I really enjoy your podcast. You do an amazing job. Thanks, David.
Thanks very much. Cheers now. Appreciate that.
Cheers.